Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with something uncomfortable, but true. Helping the wrong person can destroy your peace, delay your progress, and even wreck your destiny. Sounds dramatic. It's not. You see, we live in a world where kindness is glorified, but discernment is ignored. And many good people are exhausted, not because they don't want to help, but because they've been helping the wrong people. So today, I'm not here to make you nicer. I'm here to make you wiser. Because if you don't learn who not to help, you'll keep draining your life into bottomless pits and calling it compassion. Stay with me, because by the time we reach number 7, you'll look back at your life and say, "That's why I was stuck, and now I'm free." Let's begin. These are the ones who think your help is an obligation, not a gift. They never say thank you. They never show growth, and they always come back for more. Helping them feels like trying to fill a bucket.
With a hole in the bottom, they wear pain like a badge of honor. Every time you try to lift them, they find a way to fall again. Just to stay in the familiar place of pity, they don't want healing, they want attention. You're not helping them. You're just feeding their addiction to being helpless. They always say, "This time will be different." You give them one more shot, and they shoot themselves in the foot again. Your help becomes a cycle of broken trust and wasted effort. Stop financing their excuses. Let them hit the bottom if that's what it takes to rise. These people don't ask for money or favors, just your time, peace, and mental space. After every interaction, you feel drained. They love chaos. They bring confusion. Helping them isn't charity. It's slow self-destruction. They want your support, not your wisdom. Advice ignored, warnings dismissed. But when things go wrong, guess who they blame? You. Helping someone who refuses to learn is like planting seeds on concrete. They hurt you. You forgive. They repeat again and again and again. Your help becomes permission, not correction. If someone uses your kindness as a weapon against you, it's time to walk away. They don't love you. They love what you bring, your access, your influence, your resources. The moment you stop giving, they disappear. These people are not friends. They're opportunists wearing friendly faces. There's something noble about wanting to help others. It feels good to be the one who steps in, who offers support, who becomes the light in someone else's darkness. That desire, to lift, to fix, to be the difference, comes from a genuine place of compassion. But what happens when that compassion becomes a trap? What if I told you that helping everyone isn't helping at all? We're conditioned to believe that saying yes to everyone makes us kind, that turning no one away means we're good people. But here's the hard truth. Helping everyone can hurt you, and it can hurt them too. Not everyone is ready to be helped. Not everyone wants to be helped. And worse still, not everyone has good intentions with the help you give. That's not negativity talking. That's discernment. Because when you start to help indiscriminately, you begin to pour from a cup that was never meant to be bottomless. You begin to deplete your own energy, peace, and purpose in the name of generosity. And eventually, you don't feel generous anymore. You feel bitter, burned out, and broken. We often forget that help has weight, that every time you lift someone, you're using your emotional, mental, or even financial energy to do so. It's a transfer of strength, of time, of focus. And when you're constantly transferring without replenishing, you don't just feel tired. You feel used. That's when resentment creeps in. You look around and realize the people you've helped the most are often the ones who appreciate you the least. The more you give, the more they expect. And when you finally have nothing left, they vanish because they were never looking for connection.
just consumption. It's not selfish to be selective. In fact, it's wise. Because when you keep helping people who aren't willing to change, grow, or take responsibility, you become part of the problem. You're enabling stagnation, you're funding dysfunction, and you're robbing them of the very struggle they need in order to grow. Sometimes the best help is no help at all. Sometimes stepping back is the most loving thing you can do, because pain, when it's not rescued, becomes a teacher. And when you remove every consequence from someone's life, you also remove every opportunity for them to mature. You see, help isn't always about doing something. It's also about knowing when not to. The person who always borrows but never repays, they need accountability, not another loan. The friend who keeps calling with the same problems but never listens to advice, they need boundaries, not another long conversation. The relative who disappears when you're struggling but shows up when they need something, they don't need another yes. They need a closed door. We've been taught to fear the word no. We worry it makes us cold, unkind, or unloving. But no is not a rejection. It's a redirection. It says, I care about you, but I won't destroy myself to save you. It says, I want to help, but only if that help leads to growth, not dependency. It says, I love you, but I also love myself. That kind of clarity is rare and powerful. There's also the matter of capacity. You are not infinite. Your emotional tank has a limit. Your time has boundaries. Your energy is a resource. And if you waste all of it on people who refuse to help themselves, you'll have nothing left for the ones who truly need you. Worse, you'll have nothing left for yourself, and the one person you are fully responsible for is you. Think about it. Every time you say yes to the wrong person, you're saying no to something else. Maybe to your own healing. Maybe to a healthier relationship. Maybe to a dream you've been putting off while solving everyone else's crisis. The cost of misplaced help is invisible at first, but it always shows up. Sometimes in burnout, sometimes in depression, sometimes in the quiet realization that you've spent years helping people who never really wanted to be helped in the first place. So what's the solution? Start asking better questions. Not just can I help, but should I help? Not just do they need me, but will they grow from this? Helping is a gift, but not everyone is ready to receive it. And when you keep giving to those who misuse or waste what you offer, you're not helping them. You're just delaying the moment they finally take responsibility for themselves. Helping everyone feels good in theory. But in practice, it can become a slow erosion of your energy, your joy, and your sense of self. Be wise, be discerning, be kind, but not at your own expense, because at the end of the day, your help only matters when it leads to change. And if it's not changing them, it's just costing you. It's one of the most misunderstood truths of life. Setting boundaries does not make you cruel, cold, or heartless. It makes you healthy. Somewhere along the way, we've been fed the lie that love has no limits, that kindness means constant availability, and that saying yes is the only acceptable answer if you truly care. But real love isn't reckless, and real kindness has structure. If it doesn't, it will break you. We often think boundaries are walls, but they're not. They're fences with gates, meant to keep the wrong things out while still allowing the right things in. But if you live without any, if you let anyone walk in and out of your life, your time, your energy, your emotions, without regulation, you'll begin to feel like your life is no longer yours. That's not love. That's self-abandonment, and it's not sustainable. There is this guilt, this nagging feeling that saying no makes you a bad person, that stepping away from toxic situations means you're being unkind. But ask yourself, who taught you that? Was it the people who benefited from your lack of boundaries? Was it those who expected you to carry what wasn't yours? Often, the loudest protests come from the ones who were most comfortable with your silence, your people, pleasing, your self-sacrifice. But the fact that someone gets upset when you set a boundary doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means your boundary revealed their entitlement, and that's the truth of it. Boundaries expose people. They shine a light on who was with you for the right reasons, and who was only there as long as you were convenient. The moment you stop over-giving, over-explaining, and overextending, the moment you say, "This is where I draw the line," you'll start to see who respects you and who simply used you. That clarity might hurt, but it's necessary. You see, love without boundaries is chaos. Compassion without limits becomes enabling, and help without discernment becomes a cycle of self-destruction. You can still be kind and say no. You can still care and step back. You can still love people from a distance, especially when up close they drain you, manipulate you, or disregard your needs entirely. It's easy to feel like you're the problem when you start choosing yourself, especially if you've spent years being the helper, the fixer, the one who always says yes. But self-respect is not selfish. Protecting your peace is not prideful. Honoring your needs does not mean you're abandoning others. It means you're finally not abandoning yourself. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. That may sound poetic, but too many live it like a lifestyle. They keep burning out for people who never even say thank you. They keep stretching themselves thin emotionally, financially, spiritually, because they think that's what love demands. But it doesn't. True love, mature love, respectful love, it honors boundaries. It doesn't guilt-trip you. It doesn't manipulate your kindness. It doesn't punish your no, or demand that you prove your worth by suffering. The truth is, some people will only value you when you stop giving them unlimited access to your life. They will start to understand that your time, your heart, and your energy are not free, flowing resources. They are sacred. And those who can't honor that don't deserve that access. You teach people how to treat you not just by what you say, but by what you allow. So if you keep tolerating disrespect, if you keep letting people cross lines with no consequence, that becomes your standard. And over time, it's not just them who forgets your worth, it's you. But when you begin to set boundaries, when you start saying, "This is what I will accept, and this is what I won't," you begin the process of reclaiming your self-worth. It's not easy. At first, it may feel like rejection. It may feel like you're losing people, but the truth is, you're not losing anything. You're just clearing space for the people who truly value you. It's a strange kind of strength, the ability to love people deeply but also know when to walk away, to know when helping is helping, and when it's just hurting both of you. Boundaries don't mean you love less. In fact, they mean you love more, because you're choosing to love from a place of wholeness, not from depletion, from a place of clarity, not confusion. So, the next time someone tries to shame you for drawing a line, for choosing peace over drama, for protecting your space, remember this: you are not heartless, you are healing, you are not being mean. You are being wise, and you are not less loving. You are just finally learning to love yourself too, We've all been there. Someone comes to us with a story that pulls at our heart. Maybe it's their childhood pain, a toxic relationship they can't seem to escape, financial struggles, betrayal, illness, addiction. The list goes on, and something in us responds. We feel that tug of compassion. Our first instinct is to help, to listen, to give, to fix. We see the tears, we hear the brokenness, and we want to believe that maybe this time our help will make the difference. But here's the problem. Pity blurs your vision, but patterns reveal the truth.
There are people who are suffering, truly suffering, and trying everything they can to break free from it. Those people, they deserve our support. But there are others, those who don't want change, who don't want healing, who don't want responsibility. They just want sympathy, a savior, or someone to carry their consequences for them. And the only way you'll ever know the difference is to stop being swayed by their story and start looking at their patterns. Because pain can be real and still be weaponized. You can be hurt and still be manipulative. You can have a tragic story and still be toxic. And if you don't pay attention to behavior, you'll find yourself caught in a cycle of rescuing people who don't actually want to be rescued. They just want relief. They want a break from the mess they created, but not the discipline to stop creating it. Pity is powerful. It makes us feel needed. It makes us feel important, but that feeling can blind us. It can keep us stuck helping the same person over and over again, even though nothing ever changes. They say all the right things, they cry, they apologize, they make promises, and for a while we believe them. We believe they've turned a corner, that the pain has finally taught them something, that this time will be different. But look closer, look at the history, not just once or twice. Look over time. What does the pattern say? Are they always the victim, no matter the situation? Do they always find someone else to blame? Do they consistently take from people, but rarely give? Do they only show up when they need something? That's your answer. Not the tears, not the apologies, not the heartbreak in their voice. The pattern is the truth. We get into trouble when we think our love can rewrite someone else's pattern. But love alone doesn't fix people. People fix themselves when they're ready, when they're humble, when they're willing. And no amount of pity, driven help can substitute for personal accountability. In fact, when we ignore someone's patterns and respond only to their pain, we often end up doing more harm than good. We cushion their fall so much, they never feel the consequences that might have changed them. You don't have to be cold, you don't have to be cruel, but you do have to be clear. Compassion must be paired with wisdom, or else you'll keep feeding energy into people who are not invested in their own growth. You'll become their crutch, and they'll never learn how to walk. There's also another layer to this. Sometimes we pity people because we see ourselves in them. We remember our own pain, our own failures, our own mess. So we project. We tell ourselves, I would have wanted someone to help me too. And yes, that empathy can be a gift, but it can also be dangerous if it blinds you to the reality of who someone is now, not just who they could be. Because just as much as you needed support, you also needed to make hard choices. You had to take responsibility. You had to face your own mess. So why would you remove that process from someone else? You are not cold for protecting your time. You are not cruel for walking away from someone who refuses to grow. You are not heartless for looking at someone's behavior and saying, I see the pain, but I also see the pattern. That's not being judgmental. That's being wise. Eventually, you realize that pity is a poor guide. It reacts to emotion, but discernment reacts to reality, and reality says, patterns don't lie. No matter how convincing the story, if the behavior stays the same, nothing is really changing. And that's your cue not to fix it, not to fight for them harder than they fight for themselves, but to let go, to step back, to stop pouring into a cup that refuses to hold anything. You are allowed to love people, pray for people, root for people, and still say, I will not carry you.
Because real help does not come from pity. Real help comes from truth, and the truth is always found in what they do, not just what they say. There's a strange dynamic that exists in the lives of those who constantly cry out for help, but never seem to move forward. They come to you with chaos, with drama, with crisis after crisis, and they say they want change. They say they want a better life, healthier relationships, peace, stability. They say they're tired of the mess, tired of the cycle, tired of the weight they're carrying. But here's the truth that's hard to say out loud. Some people don't actually want to change. They just want the attention that comes with pretending they do. It's subtle at first. You think you're helping. You listen, you offer advice, you invest time, energy, maybe even money. You're patient, you believe in them. You show up again and again and again. And slowly you start to realize they're not interested in taking the steps. They're addicted to the sympathy. The moment you stop feeding that, the moment you stop giving them your emotional labor, they disappear. Or worse, they turn on you, because it was never about healing. It was never about growth. It was about being the center of attention in a room full of people who feel sorry for them. It was about the comfort of victimhood, not the courage of responsibility. And that's the thing. Victimhood has power, but not the kind that brings freedom. It brings influence, manipulation, the ability to control others through guilt, through emotional appeal, through the fear that if you don't keep helping, something bad might happen. It's exhausting to be in relationship with people like that. They keep you locked in a loop of emotional emergencies. They turn their pain into performance. 1 week, they're crying for help. The next, they've made no effort. The week after that, they're back again, repeating the same story with new dramatic details. You listen, you hope, you encourage, but eventually you feel it. This isn't going anywhere. It's like trying to rescue someone who doesn't want to leave the fire. They just want you to stand beside them and feel the heat. Not everyone who cries out is ready to climb out, and not everyone who says they're tired is actually ready to do something different. Change requires discomfort. It requires honesty. It requires letting go of control and stepping into the unknown. Some people would rather stay in a known, painful pattern than face the unfamiliar territory of healing. They don't want transformation. They want validation. They want a witness, not a mentor, a cheerleader for their victimhood, not a challenger for their growth. This is why your help has to be discerning. You need to ask yourself, are they showing up for healing? Or are they showing up for attention? Because if they're not willing to change their choices, change their mindset, take responsibility for their role, then your help becomes part of their pattern. You're not helping them, you're keeping them stuck. You're feeding the thing they refuse to starve. And here's the most frustrating part. The more you care, the more they drain you. The more consistent you are, the more they expect. The moment you set a boundary, the moment you say, I can't keep doing this, suddenly you're the problem. They flip the script. You're accused of not caring, of being selfish, of giving up on them. But truthfully, you're not giving up on them. You're just choosing not to support a performance anymore. It's not your job to be the audience for someone's drama. It's not your purpose to provide an emotional stage for people who love the sound of their own suffering.
If someone wants to change, you'll see it. They'll be doing the hard things, not just saying the right words. They'll take uncomfortable steps. They'll make sacrifices. They'll ask for support with action, not just emotion. They'll move forward even if slowly. But when someone stays in the same cycle with no intention of leaving it, no matter how many times you reach down to pull them out, they'll just keep slipping back in. Not because they're weak, but because the attention that comes with staying broken has become more appealing than the discipline required to be whole. It's a hard pill to swallow, but sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop clapping for their performance. Stop enabling the cycle. Stop playing the role they've assigned to you. When you remove your attention, the illusion of their desire to change fades quickly, and what's left, the truth, a truth that's painful, yes, but necessary. Because only in that space, without an audience, without applause, can real change even have a chance to begin. So be wise. Pay attention. Don't let emotional theatrics steal your peace or your purpose. Some people are not seeking freedom. They're seeking followers for their pain, and you don't have to be one of them. You can love them. You can pray for them. You can hope for them. But you don't have to follow them into circles that go nowhere. There comes a point when you have to stop and ask yourself a hard question. How long am I supposed to keep helping someone who's not helping themselves? Because help in its purest form is meant to empower, not enslave. It's meant to be a bridge, not a permanent parking spot. And yet, far too often, our help turns into a lifelong subscription where we keep pouring, supporting, fixing, and carrying someone, long after we were supposed to stop. This doesn't mean we don't care. In fact, it's usually the ones with the biggest hearts who get trapped in these roles, the fixers, the nurturers, the ones who always show up. But what starts as kindness becomes a contract you never signed. One where your time, your energy, your resources, your emotional bandwidth are expected, demanded, and taken for granted. And if you dare to pause, if you dare to say enough, suddenly you become the villain because people get comfortable with your help. They begin to treat it like oxygen, as something they're entitled to, not something they've been blessed with. And the more you give without limits, the more they believe they don't have to grow. Why would they? You've built them a safety net so strong they don't even feel the consequences of their own choices. You catch them every time, you clean up the mess, you explain away the damage, you sacrifice, while they stay the same. But here's the truth. Help that's constantly required is no longer help. It's enablement, and enablement never leads to freedom. It leads to dependence. There's a difference between giving someone a hand and becoming their permanent crutch. One uplifts, the other imprisons, and if you're not careful, your entire life becomes a support system for someone else's refusal to grow. You weren't created to be someone's emotional life support forever. You're not their therapist, their savior, their bank, or their backup plan, and it's not your job to carry what they refuse to confront. Yes, love is patient. Yes, love is kind, but love is also honest. And sometimes honesty looks like saying, I'm not going to keep doing this with you. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough not to let them stay stuck.
If they haven't changed after the 10th time, you've bailed them out. If the apologies come easy, but the behavior stays the same. If your peace is constantly being sacrificed to maintain their comfort. It's not help anymore. It's a cycle. And cycles don't break by accident. They break when someone finally decides, this ends here. You don't owe anyone a lifetime of rescue, especially when they've shown you they have no intention of rescuing themselves. You can love people and still draw the line. You can be compassionate and still step back. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear, because your help is a resource, not a right. And any relationship where your help is demanded, expected, or manipulated is not a healthy one. The truth is, some people only reach out when they need something. Some people only value your presence when it benefits them. And the moment you say no, the moment you set a boundary, the mask comes off. You realize your role wasn't based on love. It was based on usefulness, and that realization stings because you thought your consistency mattered. You thought your effort was changing something, but it wasn't. It was only prolonging the inevitable. You are allowed to say, I've done all I can, and that's enough. You are allowed to stop showing up for people who only show up for themselves. You are allowed to leave the role of rescuer behind, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Because help should never cost you your sanity, your sleep, your joy, or your identity. It should not require you to empty yourself over and over for someone who refuses to fill themselves. Help should be a seed, not a sentence. It should lead to progress, not permanence. So if your help has become a lifestyle for someone else, it's time to reassess, because the most powerful thing you can give someone isn't endless support. It's the space to learn, to fail, to figure it out without you constantly stepping in. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people feel the discomfort of their own decisions. Let them sit in it. Let them struggle. Let them wrestle with their choices. Because that's where real transformation begins, not when you rescue them again, but when they finally realize no one's coming this time, and they have to rise. You are not cold for letting go. You're wise for realizing that your help should lift someone temporarily, not carry them forever. Let your kindness be powerful, not endless. Let it move people toward independence, not attachment. Because in the end, the goal was never to be their savior. It was to help them remember they could save themselves. Sometimes help doesn't come from a place of compassion. It comes from a need to feel important, a need to be in control, a need to be needed. And when that happens, what looks like love on the outside is actually a subtle form of manipulation. It's not about building someone up. It's about making sure they never get so strong that they stop depending on you. That's when help stops being help and starts becoming a trap. It can happen slowly. It begins with good intentions. You see someone struggling and you step in. You offer advice, support, money, solutions. You become their rock, their go-to, their safe place. And for a while it feels good, like you're doing something meaningful. But somewhere along the line, you start to expect things. You expect them to listen to you, to follow your lead, to take your advice as truth. You begin to measure your worth by how much they still need you. And the more they depend on you, the more powerful you feel. That's the danger. When your help is rooted in your need to be in control, it stops serving the other person. It starts serving your ego. You start to view their progress as a threat instead of a success. You get anxious when they don't come to you first. You feel offended when they don't take your advice. You resent their independence because deep down their freedom makes you feel unnecessary, and that's the trap.
You didn't help them to heal. You helped them to stay close. You helped them so you could keep being the answer. True help, real love, sets people free. It encourages them to grow, to think for themselves, to build their own strength. It celebrates their independence. It cheers them on when they don't need you anymore. That's what love looks like. It's not possessive, it's empowering. But when help becomes a way to control someone's choices, actions, or emotions, it's not love. It's fear dressed up as kindness. This happens more than we realize. Sometimes we don't help to lift others up. We help so we can keep them beneath us, not out of cruelty, but out of our own insecurity. Because if they grow, if they evolve, if they start standing on their own, what's our role? Where do we fit? What's our value if we're no longer the savior in their story? It's a hard question, but a necessary one, because helping someone shouldn't be about preserving our own importance. It should be about giving them what they need to rise, even if that rise takes them further from us, even if they outgrow us, even if they no longer look back. That's love. Anything else is disguised control. Control doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it looks like guilt. Like, after everything I did for you, how could you leave? Or, if you really loved me, you'd listen to me. Or, you wouldn't be where you are without me. These aren't the words of someone who helped out of love. These are the words of someone who helped to own a piece of the outcome. That's not generosity. That's emotional debt collecting. And relationships built on debt are never free. They're heavy. They suffocate. They imprison. You have to ask yourself, am I helping because I want to see them whole, or because I want to keep them close? Am I giving out of compassion, or am I giving so I can stay in control? It's a tough mirror to look into, but necessary, because help, when offered with a closed hand, becomes a leash. It may look like love, but it keeps people stuck. It's help with strings attached, and sooner or later, those strings turn into chains. Healthy help creates space. It lets people make their own mistakes, learn their own lessons, and walk their own path, even if it's different from what you would have chosen for them. It supports, but it doesn't steer. It advises, but it doesn't dictate. And it releases people, not because it's done loving them, but because it trusts them enough to figure things out without being micromanaged. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone is let go. Not out of anger or bitterness, but out of respect. Respect for their journey, respect for their growth, respect for their right to choose, even if that choice doesn't include you anymore. If your help has turned into a form of control, it's time to take a step back and be honest with them and with yourself. Real love does not seek to possess. It seeks to protect, to empower, and to release. And when you help from that place, even if the person walks away, even if they never come back, you'll know you gave them something real. Something that didn't bind them but built them. Something that didn't drain them but equipped them. Help should never be a disguise for control. Love doesn't trap people. It frees them. And the highest form of help is knowing when to step back, let go, and trust that what you planted in someone's life will grow without you standing over it every second. That's not abandonment. That's maturity. That's wisdom. That's love in its most honest form. One of the most painful truths you'll ever face is this: not everyone you help will be grateful. Not everyone you support will honor what you've done for them. In fact, some people will take what you've given.
the time, the trust, the energy, the open door, and use it as a weapon against you. They will twist your kindness, take advantage of your softness, and turn your help into a tool for manipulation, betrayal, or control. And the worst part, you never saw it coming because you didn't help out of weakness. You helped out of love, out of belief, out of hope. You looked at them and saw something worth saving. You thought, if I can just give them a chance, if I can just show up for them, maybe they'll rise, maybe they'll change. And for a while, maybe they did, or maybe they pretended to. But eventually, the truth came to the surface. They didn't value your help. They used it. Some people are not broken. They're opportunistic. They study kindness like a map, looking for openings. They know how to sound desperate enough to get sympathy. They know how to play humble long enough to win your trust. But once they're in, once they've got what they came for, the mask drops, and suddenly the very person you lifted becomes the one who cuts the deepest. They use your words against you. They gossip about you behind your back. They blame you when things go wrong. They downplay your sacrifice, mock your effort, or worst of all, act like they never needed you in the first place. And while you're left confused, wondering how someone you poured so much into could turn on you, they're already looking for their next source. Because it was never about the help, it was always about the access. There's something especially cruel about being hurt by the person you helped. It shakes your confidence in yourself. It makes you question your instincts. It makes you wonder if helping people is even worth it. And that's the trap. Because if you're not careful, their betrayal can harden your heart. It can make you bitter. It can make you want to stop caring altogether. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. What they did is not a reflection of your character. It's a reflection of theirs. You helped because that's who you are. They betrayed because that's who they are. Don't confuse the two. Your kindness is not weakness. Your giving spirit is not naive. What they did with your help is on them. What you did with your heart, that's on you. And your heart, it's still something to be proud of. That being said, you must learn from it. You can't afford to keep giving blind access to people who have proven they don't handle it with care. You can forgive without forgetting. You can wish someone well from a distance. But you don't have to give them another seat at your table. You don't have to keep letting them back in just because you once held the door open. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is close it. Because when you help someone who turns around and uses that help to hurt you, when they exploit your loyalty, drain your spirit, and then act like you're the one who did them wrong, you have every right to walk away. You have every right to protect your peace. You have every right to choose wisdom over repetition, and don't let guilt trick you into thinking boundaries are cruel. They're not. They're necessary. They're how you guard your energy, your emotional health, your future. You're not here to be used. You're not here to be drained. You're not here to be someone's emotional punching bag just because you once tried to rescue them. Not everyone deserves your help. That's a hard truth, but it's a freeing one. You are not obligated to keep showing up for people who keep showing you they don't respect your presence. You are not required to continue helping someone just because you once started. If your help has become the very thing someone is using to hurt you, it's time to step back, not out of hate, but out of wisdom. Remember this, the lesson is not to stop helping people. The lesson is to help wisely. To watch for patterns, to listen to your intuition, to stop confusing potential with proof, and most of all, to remember that protecting your heart is not selfish. It's sacred because your heart is rare. And anyone who's willing to break it after you've helped them didn't deserve access to it in the first place. So keep your kindness, keep your compassion, but carry it with discernment, because some people will take your help and build a weapon with it. And the only way to stop that from happening again is to stop handing them the materials. I'll leave you with this: love everyone, but help selectively, because not every cry is a call for help. Some are just traps in disguise. So, if you're tired of being burned by the people you're trying to rescue, maybe it's time to rescue yourself by saying no.